is Faith Mwangi Powell. She is the Global Director of the Girls' Generation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much.
You've been watching that story with me here, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on that. At least we're having some elderly men from, the community, like Maasai community, talking against this. Are you excited about this move?
Thank you so much for having me here.
Right.
I think this is excellent. I think one of the challenges of adding FGM is a cycle of silence, that people are not talking about it. And for so long, it has been women who have been spearheading this campaign to add FGM.
Right.
And for me, I believe, and we as the girl generation believe, that adding FGM is a responsibility for everyone. So seeing men coming out and talking about adding FGM in their own communities, they may disagree, but I think that is the purpose of dialogue. You dialogue with the communities, they understand why is it important to add FGM, what are some of the effects for FGM for women. And for me, that dialogue excites me because it gives an opportunity for us to speak.
And it's different, like you mentioned, it's not been a conversation that especially elders in different communities have been having. These conversations maybe showcase it's a great start to ending this scourge.
For the girl generation, we are working in 10 African countries, and I want to say that Kenya is actually leading in terms of the campaign, so Kenya really needs to be very proud of the work which has happened, and many, many pockets. In fact, the most exciting community which is coming out to speak against FGM is the boys, the young men.
Wow.
They are coming up and saying, I'm okay to marry a woman who is not gone through FGM. And I think for me, and my colleague there, Mary, talked about on the clip we just showed, talked about young men speaking out. And the moment young people say no to FGM, we can indeed add FGM in one generation.
Do you think it's a matter of do you think it's a matter of changing the conversation and changing the tact? Like she said in that clip, when men now start talking against it and saying that I am okay to marry a girl who has not gone under the cut, it's going to make the process even faster.
Exactly. And I think it's also very good to put it in content. As I said, we are working in 10 African countries, and in some countries it's about religion. Some countries it's about marriage. Some countries it's about being clean. So it's very important to understand every community, what is driving this practice. In Kenya here, marriage is a critical key for perpetuating FGM. So if the men can join us and I say, I'm okay with a woman who has not gone through FGM, that is actually going to accelerate the decline of FGM. In other countries, if religious elders come together and say, we do not support FGM, that is going to accelerate adding FGM. So it's making sure we understand the context through which FGM is happening and addressing those issues, but with dialogue. I always say, let's talk to the communities. Let's not talk at them. Let's talk with them and see who are the drivers of FGM in their communities and how can we influence them so that we add FGM.
What has been the main challenge of this fight against FGM so far? What is it that has stifled, finishing this scourge to the very end?
I think for me, I look at it in two ways. I think when somebody comes and tells you stop and they don't understand why you want me to stop, people kind of resist. And I think that aspect of dialogue and finding out why is this thing so important. And again, sorry to keep referring to the girl generation, we are doing social change communication. And social change communication is where you go to the grassroots, you understand what are the drivers of adding FGM, and you talk to the communities and they give you the solutions through which we can add FGM. I think for so long, campaigners have kind of maybe worked independently with the communities. So how do we integrate the communities so that together we are talking, we are discussing, we are agreeing solutions together and lasting solutions so that when I walk away and I go back to where I came from, those solutions are sustainable. But it is happening. If we saw the clip there that Kenya now, we are 21%. This is actually the demographic health survey of 2015. Maybe if we look at 2017, maybe we have gone a little bit lower. So there is hope that FGM is ending. But also to say there is a lot of international awareness, there is international support, and much more people globally are actually talking about FGM. I saw you with your colleague talking about the clip.
Actually, I wanted us to talk about some of the numbers that she showed. But they were shocking. 200 million girls across 30 countries. That's really too much. And as much as we're having this campaign here in Kenya, you say that Kenya at least is leading in the conversation and ending, you know, FGM. Which other countries really are also, you know, trying to end this scourge here in Africa? Because, I mean, apart from Africa, Middle East, there are other countries where this is really practiced.
In Africa, there are about 29 countries who are affected by FGM by different levels. In my program, we are working in 10 of those. We are working in Kenya, in Sudan, in Somaliland. In fact, I just came back from Somaliland, in Nigeria, in the Gambia, in Ethiopia, in Egypt. So there are many countries affected, but we are really looking at the high prevalence countries. If you look at countries like Uganda, it's maybe 1%. Tanzania is 2%. The countries of the South Africa, there isn't much FGM, but of course we are all moving. We are very mobile communities, so we may say that there is no FGM in South Africa, but you find maybe there are Kenyan in South Africa who want to practice it. So that is why it's very important that when we look at those high prevalence countries, we do not forget migration. In the diaspora, in the UK, we talk about 3 million girls at risk every year. That's a huge number. So it's because of the people moving into the UK. In the US, we had a girls summit in the US looking at how can we work with the diaspora. So because of the way we move, it's a very serious issue. But I also like that research has come in to really show the true numbers. Because this is a very issue where it's silent. So when we have,
for us to see the 200 million,
I think it's good.
It's really good. Let's talk about support. Organizations like yours, what kind of support would you say you would need right now to fight this vice? I
think there are 3 ways we need support. The first way is that we want people to join us. We are a membership organization or a membership program. We have 400 organizations who have signed up to partner with us to work to end FGM. So we are calling people, come, let us figure this out together. The next thing we need help is policy. We are working across countries. Kenya, again, there is a law banning FGM, which really makes it easier and gives us credibility to work on this issue. There are other countries where there are no laws or regulations. So we are talking to policy makers to have laws so that they can protect the work we are doing. And the third one, it's always resources. And we have actually set up a program in my organization it's called the FGM Grants Program. And what that does is to provide rapid response, accessible, small grants to communities at the grassroots who are really struggling and who has the solutions. We give them some funding, it's little funding for them to really do those innovative things they're doing. But it's not enough.
It's not enough.
We want governments to come and rally behind and put budget allocations to this issue.
And talking about governments, let's talk about the women in leadership right now. I mean, you've seen maybe 1 or 2 really coming out strongly to talk about this vice. But I mean, from where you sit, looking at the women who are in the National Assembly, do you think that they've, participated in this fight at the level that they need to?
I think in Kenya, again, we have great leadership from Honorable Jebi Kilimo. She has been the chair of the anti-FGM board. In fact, I say she's my mentor and my sister, and she has been really fearless.
But she's been there for such a long time. I mean, we'd expect that we have more and more women coming up.
And what is coming up now with the counties, the governor's wives, they are coming together and saying, how can we be involved? They are coming out. I think now we have structures in place where people have opportunities to speak, because I know that even if you want to speak about an issue, but you don't have a platform through which to speak, then it becomes difficult. So really giving those women the platform to speak. The parliament, they have a big caucus looking at FGM. So there's a lot of work going on here, but we need more. We need women even like yourself in media. And again, I want to say thank you to the media, because you have really spearheaded this campaign. Even the last 2 days, you've really talked about it. So we want more women in the media like yourself to really coming and speaking out, because you know what? When young girls see you every day on TV, they aspire to be you. And if you can tell them there is hope, I think you are really
That's
some of the big leaders we are looking out to. And there are many more. In fact, yesterday we are honoring some of those women leaders in Garissa, because there are many there, but they are really kind of unsung heroes. So we need to bring them up and make sure that they are part of this conversation.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Faith. That was an interesting conversation, and we're here to help at any level.
Thank you
here
so
to
much.
help. Faith Mwangi Powell, she is the Global Director of the Girl Generation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having